The way things are from a couple of years on, things are real horrible here in New York, all over.
You're dealing with a lot of people that are maniacs today.
We're dealing with an individual who's very basic, who only knows two things, rip off or be ripped off.
Many of those who make good by being bad are nowhere to be seen these days.
I'd be afraid. Of course I'd be afraid. He's a sick guy. He'd kill anytime.
Yeah, but we're...
There isn't anything on earth that I will hide from or back up from.
People seem not to understand the close relationship between organized crime and street crime. And certainly in dealing with street crime in his area or any other kind of crime, the uniform patrol...
Presenzano, shot 4 times, his throat cut. Presenzano was allegedly connected.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How are you doing? You guys can hear me? Just let me know. I got to check. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me all right. Edward Everett, what's going on? Ruby. Okay, Ruby, thank you. You can hear me. Edward Everett, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Ruby, good to see you. Bruno67, what is going on? 17 people so far. I don't do lives that much, so I really don't ever expect that many people to show up, but I appreciate everyone that's here. I'm sure we'll get some more people as we go on. Dee, how are you? Anyone else? Chris Gonzalez, what's up, buddy? How are you doing? Nice to see you. All right, so we're going to talk about a couple of things today. One of them, JR Centennial. Let me just get through this. JR, what's up, buddy? How are you, man? Edward Ever. There he is again. Anyone else here? Say hi. Say hi. All right. We're going to talk about a couple of things. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Paul Boyle, thanks for being here. I know it's kind of late by you. Appreciate you stopping by, man. Thank you. I try to, it's kind of hard to do these early. So I try to have like a middle ground. I know it's late for people overseas. Like it's getting like midnight, 1 o'clock. But I try to kind of not do it too late my time. So who else is here? Elio 5 or Elio V. Sorry. Roman numeral 5. What's up, Paisan? What's up, man? How are you? Roro. There she is. How are you? Scott H., thank you so much for stopping by. DD, what's up? All right, so we're going to talk about a couple of things today. We're going to talk about these. I don't know if you guys have been following this story with some of the jewel robberies that occurred in Manhattan back in January of this year. And it's been big news. Anyone heard about it? You guys can comment. The mobsters, associates, as they refer to them as. We're going to talk about a couple of those guys, and we're going to talk about exactly what happened with this roundup. We're also going to be talking about, if you see on the screen, one of the themes of this show is always Roy DeMeo, everything Roy DeMeo. So we're going to be talking about a specific individual that was murdered by the Roy DeMeo crew in May of 1978, and we're gonna look at some files, police files, where his name shows up, being involved in some really disgusting activities. And then I'm going to share with you some firsthand accounts of this character, from people who grew up in Brooklyn and who were around this guy and had some interactions with this guy. His name is Michael DiCarlo, Mikey Muscles. That's how he's commonly referred to as. Killed in May of 1978. So we're going to talk about that guy. I always try to squeeze a little Roy stuff in if I can. And we'll get to that. So before we get to that, I want to share a news clip just so everybody can catch up on kind of what we're about to talk about right now. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to present to you. I forgot what this was. So this is from NBC, and you guys can kind of let me share my screen, and I'm going to put up a YouTube video for everybody to see right now. All right, let me share this.
We have a News 4 exclusive to tell you about. It involves jewelry heists, one involving a jewelry store to the stars. A group of alleged mobsters now under arrest tonight. Investigators say they managed to pull the whole thing off by posing as construction workers. News 4 Chief Investigative Reporter Jonathan Dienst has the story.
Reputed Lucchese crime associate Frank Skip DiPietro was the first alleged jewel bandit let out of the 13th precinct this morning. He soon was followed by Vincent Spagnuolo. Then came Michael Selleck, who apparently was not happy to see our camera. Next was Vincent Sergio, followed by Samuel Source. All were led away by NYPD Major K Squad detectives and FBI agents. This alleged crew of Lucchese and Gambino associates are accused of targeting a jeweler to the stars, Baco Jewels, along Madison Avenue and East 61st Street. Their jewels worn by stars like Beyonce and Rihanna, who wore $2.6 million worth of diamonds at Beyonce's post-Oscar party. To get into Baco's penthouse, you need an appointment and have to pass a credit check. But investigators say this crew decided to use construction outfits and force their way in just as Baco workers were loading up the ground floor display case. This is just one of two holdups the FBI says the men were involved in. One back on January 3rd, another on May 20th. The police commissioner says the gunpoint holdups showed a callous disregard for life. The FBI says the robberies netted about $2 million worth of jewels in all. Prosecutors say this image shows.
All right, so I'm going to stop it right there. I think you guys get the idea. We're going to go over the complaint. Is RD357 in here? Oh shit! What's up, RD? How are you, man? The man, the myth, the fucking legend, RD357. You guys should follow RD. And watch the interview I did with him. I left you a message on Instagram, RD. I'm not sure. I'm trying to come Sunday, but I'm not sure because we're going to do part 2 of an interview with the great RD357, prolific New York City graffiti artist, graffiti writer, graffiti vandal. I don't know how he wants to call himself, but he's been around for many years. I'm glad you're here, RD. Thank you so much. So you guys saw that, right? Okay. Now we're going to go over the I'm going to talk about specifically 2 of the characters that were involved in these heists. But I want to look at the complaint. So let's look at the criminal complaint here. Okay. I got to get rid of RD's thing here. So let's see. All right. And I'm going to read some of this to you guys. This is going to be really like a lot of reading and stuff. And maybe some people might fucking find it boring, but we're going to go over exactly, what these guys are being charged with. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to talk about 2 of them. Okay. So on or about January 2023 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Frank DiPietro, Vincent Sergio, Michael Selleck, and Vincent Spagnuolo, the defendants and others known and unknown, knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together and with others to commit robbery, as the term is defined in Title 18 United States Code. Then it says they conspired to commit armed robbery of a jewelry company in New York on or about January 23rd, 2023. So on January the 3rd of 2023, let me just skip over a little bit. Okay. So this is detective. All right. So armed robbery, January 3rd, 2023. Based on my review of law enforcement reports and my participation in the witness interview, I have learned the following. A jewelry company has an office in the penthouse of a building located at Madison Avenue between East 60th and East 61st Street in New York. Jewelry Company 1 does not have a storefront on street level that admits customers to its office by appointment only. However, Jewelry Company 1 has a display case on street level. So in order to place items of jewelry in the display case, employee 1 routinely removes the items from a safe, brings the items downstairs to the lobby of the building, disables an alarm located in a closet in the lobby, and then opens the display case to insert items. Based on my participation, I went to an interview in surveillance. Okay. So at approximately, so they're going to have photos that you guys are going to see over here. January 3rd, 2023, at approximately 10:20 a.m., employee removed 3 items of jewelry from a safe, brought the jewelry items downstairs to the lobby of the building, and disabled the alarm. So when he was walking to the display case, 2 robbers entered the lobby. One of the robbers, robber 1, was armed with a firearm and wearing an orange construction jacket with reflective strips, a yellow hat, black mask, gloves, jeans, and black and white sneakers. Employee 1 and some of the substance, give it to me, while pointing the firearm at the employee. Robber 1 then took the jewelry items and fled from the lobby. The second robber, who was wearing a yellow construction jacket with reflective strips, dark hood, mask, and gloves, stated to employee and some substance, turn around and get in the closet. The second robber then fled from the lobby. As you guys can see, this surveillance footage here. And then it talks about some of the vehicles that they had escaped in. Now you see right here, more surveillance. I've learned that on or about December, Vincent Spagnuolo, the defendant, was stopped by the NYPD while driving a pickup truck. So this is the same pickup truck that they're using in the robbery. He was actually had this vehicle in 2021, so they were able to see Vincent Spagnuolo there. Now you have more surveillance on West 56th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue in New York, 6 blocks from the robbery location. I have learned that surveillance video shows the robber and another individual enter a deli at 9:01 a.m. Robber wearing clothes that appears to be the same clothing worn. I mean, these guys, I mean, I don't even know if I want to continue reading this because this. So you guys kind of get the idea of what's going on here. This is DiPietro that you see right there. It's basically going over all the surveillance that they have from the area, all of the clothing, all of the vehicles used in the heists. Then you see him standing over there. At certain points, one of the individuals appeared orange jacket. All right. So if you notice, guys, I don't know if you guys noticed, but one of the guys' name is not there. So that was the young kid, Source, I believe his name is. So he's gonna get caught up after they're gonna have a complaint against him. And they're saying that he is basically one of the getaway drivers. That was the young kid that you seen laughing over there. In the Southern District, namely, based on my knowledge of foregoing charges and part falls. Based on my review, company jewelry store opens. Okay. So you're going to see more photos here. I mean, it's just amazing that people would still want to do this stuff because look at this. I mean, all of this shows you like why people don't commit crimes like that. I mean, it happens. You have a lot of smash and grabs in Manhattan, but in like that, it's almost like it's not really planned, right? So you get like 20 kids, they'll run into a store, they'll do a smash and grab, and they're gone. It's like, it seems like the more you plan a crime, which these guys apparently did, they really went out of the way to plan this. The more you plan this shit, the more you're going to get caught. I mean, I bet if they just did it on a whim and went in, they probably wouldn't have been caught. I mean, that sounds stupid to say, but so this is the young kid's source. And they're saying that he's driving, basically saying that he's one of the getaway drivers in this. If you saw in the footage that I just showed you, he seems to think that this is pretty funny based on it has to be planned to perfection. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I just think that it's not worth it. I mean, there's so much surveillance, there's so many cameras, there's so many people watching what you're doing. And it almost feels like now in New York City, like I said, it sounds stupid, but the more you're going to plan something, it's like the more you're going to get busted. I mean, if you've been in New York City the past couple of years, as I said before, like even in other cities, San Francisco, what have you, they're doing these smash and grabs and they're just going into places, smashing up the place. 20 people stealing whatever they want, and they're not getting caught. They just disappear. No one ever hears about them ever again. And you get like 4 guys that do it, and they're going all out with this shit. You're gonna get caught, dude. And and some of these guys that were caught, they're in their 60s, literally in their 60s, doing this shit. And 2 of them we're gonna speak about. Imagine how many narcs and snitches, plus your cell phone tells on you your location. Yeah, and then you have cell phones pinging all over the place. So it's just kind of silly, man. It's just kind of crazy. And some of these guys at the ages that they are in their mid to late 60s, a couple of them, it's pretty wild. Pretty freaking wild. But I want to get into speaking about a couple of these guys. They won't go after gangs. It'll be racist to bust them. A couple of these guys. So specifically one of them, Frank Frank Skip DiPietro, who at one time, I suppose still, they're saying that Genovese, they're saying Gambino. As far as I know, I mean, he was a Lucchese associate. He went to prison in the year 2000. He goes to prison for a murder which he committed in 1990, and he does 16 years for that murder. I'm gonna pull up exactly what that was, and he was a part of a crew out of Staten Island, I believe, affiliated with Frankie Gioia Jr., mob rat, killer, swindler, interesting guy, Lucchese guy, and so I'm going to read this article so you guys can kind of get an idea of when this guy went away, what exactly he did. And then I'm going to talk about another guy, the other guy that was arrested, the guy by the name of Michael Selleck, who has a illustrious career in jewel thievery and robbery dating back to the 1970s, if you can believe that. So let's read this article. This is from the Staten Island Advance. But it appears up on AmericanMafia.com, but it originally appeared on the Staten Island Advance. So let's read this. So I want you guys to get an idea of who Frank DiPietro is exactly. So let's pull up this article and read this 60-something-year-old guy who is out committing jewel heists. Well, allegedly. I'm sorry, allegedly. Okay, so two plead guilty in murder of snitch. Reputed members of Lucchese crime family admit killing one of their own. Two reputed members of the Lucchese crime family based in Staten Island pleaded guilty in federal court yesterday to murdering mob snitch who was part of their gang. Anthony Tony Bones Lafredo, 32. Frank Skip DiPietro, 43. 13th Street, Brooklyn, admitted to rubbing out George Booty Van Name in November of 1990 in retaliation for his grand jury testimony about drug dealing. Both men pleaded guilty in Brooklyn federal court to racketeering and narcotics trafficking. DiPietro, who uses the aliases Frank Rosiello and Frank Pietro, also pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice. Lafredo and DiPietro were among 10 members of the reputed Port Richmond crew, who were federally indicted in September of 1998. 48 counts under the Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO. So let's see. Under the terms of the agreement with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the New York's Eastern District, Lafredo was served 21 years and DiPietro 19 years. The two men are already serving state prison terms. Lafredo on drug charges, DiPietro for robbery. Okay, so DiPietro, in addition to firing the shots that killed Van Name, admitted to receiving money for drugs. All right, so you guys kind of get an idea of what that guy did. Thank you, Joey Frakes, $2 super chat. Appreciate that, buddy. He was in the shooting of Pete Kyoto with the guy Frank Jacob. Oh, is that right? The gas station shooting. Was he one of the shooters? Was he one of the shooters? You're talking about, Roy DeMeo's brother is here. Oh, wow. Maybe we could interview you someday. Oh my God. Now there was something else I wanted to say about that. Oh, yeah, what I wanted to do was I wanted to show you guys something else. And that is going to be, give me 1 second. So, I like to show you guys like news articles and, shit like that. So let me just, so this is actually New York Times from 1990. A person walking a dog found the body of George Van Name, 23, who worked for a landscape architect on a secluded stretch of Freedom Avenue near Travis Avenue in Staten Island. Mr. Van Name of 192 Lexington Avenue had been brought to the spot in a car, shot 3 times in the right side of the head, once in the face with a 25 caliber pistol. Lieutenant Quinn said the motive was unknown. All right, so that is the homicide being reported in 1990 by the New York Times. And that was the one that DiPietro would go away for. 19-year sentence. I believe he would only serve 16. So based on what I researched on him, I was on Reddit today, Reddit Mafia. There's a lot of crazy stuff on that Reddit Mafia. I don't always go on there, but somebody put a link to something that was saying that. Now, I don't know I don't know anything about this. Somebody was saying that DiPietro got out of prison and he was made into the Genovese family. I know nothing about that. I don't know if that's true. Somebody is saying that Frank DiPietro was made into the Genovese family. I don't know where that comes from. I don't like to discuss what active with these guys. I mean, something like this is so high profile, I don't mind talking about it, but I don't know. It said that he was made into the Genovese, so I don't know how true that is. I'm going to talk about another guy involved in this heist by a guy by the name of Michael Selleck. I'm sorry, allegedly involved. Surf Shack, how are you, my buddy? Good to see you. Scott H. That's got to hurt. Yeah. Jared, what's up, man? Way to ring in the 90s. Yeah, way to ring it in. It's crazy, actually, Jared. In that Van Name article, it was that was just one little snippet of like 12 homicides that had happened within like 48 hours in New York. And I think either 1990 or 91, there was something like, don't quote me on this, so I'm going to say somewhere between like 1,800 and like 2,400 homicides in 1 year. That in one of those years, it was like one of the highest. I think it was like over 2,000 or something like that. Maybe RD357, if he's still here, he was around. He was probably running around Manhattan doing something. Michelle, how are you? Good to see you. 2 guys took out a power station with guns last year. Once their phones pinged clear as day, busted. Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. Leave the phone home or don't commit the crime, I guess. I don't know. It's not true. He is not made. Okay, yeah, you see people, I don't know who Ruby Tuesday, you seem to like know a lot of stuff. This was, I don't know where this stuff comes from. I don't know where any of this stuff comes from. I really don't know. Early 90s was a bloodbath. Los Angeles too. Yeah. Yeah, Ruby. So you're saying that's not true? I don't know where you would got that from, but if you're saying that, then that's fine. I like to talk about, New York City crime on this channel and some mafia stuff, of course, but I like to talk about history and old stuff. But there is an element of like mob creators and mob people that are obsessed with like updating you on the fucking day-to-day activities of what guys who are actually on the street, like what they're fucking doing, like right now. Oh, I heard this guy, he's been fucking working with this guy in this state. And if he doesn't stop working with this guy in Chicago, he's going to find himself in big trouble. And he's been talking to this guy. I heard. It's like, you guys are out of your fucking minds, dude. You guys do whatever you want, but like actively talking about guys on the street and like saying that you heard that they're with this guy and they've been with this guy and they're connected now with this person in this state and that state. And I heard this and I heard that. To me, that's fucking nuts. But you guys do whatever you want. I don't believe in doing shit like that. That's fucking crazy to me. Maybe I'm wrong. If you guys disagree with me, that's fine. But it's a little weird, dude. It's a little weird. You fucking talk about it like it's a TV show. Like, what's next on fucking Family Matters? Sorry for cursing so much. My son's 6th grade math teacher is named Mrs. Testa. I had asked her today if she had family in Brooklyn in the 80s. She said yes. Might be a reach, but might be related to Joey. That's not a reach at all. I don't think that's a reach at all. Actually. Don't think so. Let's discuss the Gambinos and Screw Mag. I think the Screw Magazine was a Columbo venture, Roy DeMeo's brother. That was a Columbo thing. I'm pretty positive. Screw Magazine, Al Goldstein. The crazy Al Goldstein. I just drove back from Ocean City, Warwick. It was beautiful up there and not crowded. Great coffee. Awesome. Good to see. In Manhattan, you get away on bicycles or motorcycles. There you go, RD. RD. Oh, man. You know what? You talked about it on your live, so I'm just gonna. You actually talked about it before on your channel, but I think RD once. Can I talk about the gas pipe thing really quick? RD, just say yes. If not, I won't. I follow current gang wars in Chicago. I love the whole thing. O Block. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. But imagine, Jared, there was somebody on YouTube that was based in Chicago or whatever that was actively saying what these guys were doing every day and who they were working with and what moves they were making and this and that. They would be killed. I mean, people, you've had comedians and Instagram personalities and all types of stuff that thought it was funny to talk about these Chicago gangs, and these guys were literally murdered for doing stuff like that. And I think that people that actively speak on Italian mobsters, they do it because they know that there's not going to be any retribution towards them, probably. That's probably why they do it. But I wouldn't do that in Chicago because, like I said, I mean, there's real things that have happened to people who have done that where they think it's funny to report on some of this stuff and or laugh at it. And I don't know. I really don't know. I grew up on 13th Avenue when Scarborough was clipped. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yep. Vlad TV comes close to the bone. Yeah, I don't know if he does or he kind of has a way of talking where he kind of gets these guys in trouble. He kind of forms a narrative a certain way where these guys might say something stupid. But that's on the guys that decide to do the interview with him. What are you going to do? Hey, what's up? That's my Aunt Shari. How are you today? Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Lefty, I made that video and some people just didn't get it. And some people just still don't get it. I don't know. It's a joke. It was made to be a joke. It's like a parody. It was made to be a joke, pretending that it's real, basically. Instead of not that I have a problem with people that come on and put a picture of Ramondi's face on a thumbnail and it just says the biggest fraud ever. I could do that. Anybody can do that. But I just thought it would be funny to do it the way I did it. I don't know. Whatever. All right. So I don't want to get off track. We're still talking about the mob associates with the jewel heist that went down in Manhattan. I hope everybody's up to date with that. So there's another guy. Now there's a guy by the name of Michael Selleck who was also involved in this. And one of the articles mentioned that he had jewel arrests and all types of stuff dating back to the 1970s. This guy who was just arrested with the jewel heists in Manhattan. So I got some cool articles dating back to the 70s talking about our buddy Michael Selleck out of Long Island. So let's talk about what Michael Selleck was doing back in, I believe, 1978. Keep in mind, this is 1978. He's in his 20s. He's just arrested in 2023 but for pulling off jewel heists in Manhattan. So let's go into this. So JR Centennial, I was one of the guys who didn't realize it. No, it's all right. As long as you were cool about it. Some people get nasty about it. That was crazy. Oh, you caught up, Gumption. Thank you. That was crazy. Those guys are outdating in their crime. All right. Yeah, so let's talk about this one guy, Michael Selleck. Okay, so, and I'm going to pull up a couple of things in regard to Mr. Michael Selleck. Let me just find this here. So I'm doing this different, guys. I'm trying to do stuff when I do live where it's where you could see me, where it's more of a presentation. I used to just do overlays and it would cover my face. And I don't know, that's kind of like amateur hour, I think. So let's pull up Mr. Michael Selleck from 1978. Okay. Let's see now. Okay. All right, guys, here we go. Let's read this here. Offender evades jail after 4 convictions. There you see Michael Selleck with his little 70s afro. Hop Hog, Long Island. Michael Selleck was in familiar surroundings yesterday, handcuffed and waiting to appear before First District Court judge on charges of possessing stolen property and trying to rob a Huntington business with a shotgun. 22-year-old East Northport man had been arrested 14 times since 1972, Suffolk police said. He has been convicted 4 times on charges ranging from third-degree attempted grand larceny to third-degree robbery. But Selleck of 229 Burr Road has never served a day in prison. Look at that. Second Squad Detective Joseph McKeah said, I feel he's extremely dangerous, McKeah said, adding that Selleck should be sent to prison before he hurts someone. Both Selleck's parents and his attorney, Vincent J. Cuddy, declined to comment yesterday. Selleck is currently awaiting trial on charges that he participated in the robbery of a $200,000 in jewelry. Does that sound familiar to you guys? Robbing jewelry? Allegedly participated in the robbery of $200,000 in jewelry and semi-precious stones from a Northport business last year. He was arrested by McKeah and his partner, Detective George Cook, yesterday morning in the parking lot of Swiss Chalet Restaurant on Route 25A in Centerport. So he went into the store with a 12-gauge shotgun, escaped over a chain-link fence, and then it says he's charged with first-degree attempted robbery, second-degree criminal possession of stolen property. His 12-gauge shotgun was actually also stolen. All right, well, everything this guy does is a theft. He pleaded guilty to seventh-degree criminal possession of a controlled substance and third-degree attempted grand larceny. In June of 74, he was arrested on first-degree robbery. He pleaded guilty to third-degree robbery. In July of 74, he was arrested on a charge of fifth-degree criminal possession of a controlled substance. 74, he was arrested for first-degree robbery. 74, he was sentenced to 5 years probation. And then he would go to county jail after that. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, this guy's like an OG jewel thief. What is that? That was from 78. How old is this guy? I think I may have went. He's from Long Island, though. Row. Unless you're trying to make a joke about your age. All right, so this guy is like an old school jewel thief, and allegedly he's doing it again. But check this out. I got something even funnier to show you guys about this guy. You're gonna like this one too. Check this out. Okay, let me see. 1 second now. Okay, let's pull this up now. Michael Selleck, the guy that was just arrested, and I just showed you how much of a jewel thief he was. 3 men escaped from jail in Goshen. 3 inmates in the Orange County Jail in Goshen, New York, including 1 man who escaped last July, cut their way out of a recreation area at about 7:30 p.m. yesterday and were still at large. The men who broke out of the facility last night are Robert G. Felt, 42, Ramon Sanchez, 24, Michael Selleck, there's our boy, of East Northport, Long Island. Mr. Selleck had been a part of a 5-man escape on July 6th. Mr. Sanchez and Selleck both were serving time for first-degree robbery, while Mr. Felt was in jail on charges of driving while intoxicated. So he escaped. He escaped in July. In July of 79. And then in October of 79, let's see what happened then. Let's see. Yeah, he's in the 60s, Scott H. Exactly. This is 100%. Jail escape held in robbery. So he escaped in July, and then 2 men, including an escapee from an upstate jail, were arrested yesterday in connection with a $42,000 robbery at where? Where do you think? Another jewelry store, obviously. Charged a fugitive, Michael Selleck, 23, of East Northport. So this guy escaped from custody in July. He was on the run till October. And while he was out, he said, I don't know. What am I going to do? I don't know. I'm going to rob some more jewelry stores. What else am I going to fucking do? So what do you guys think about this stuff? What do you guys think about this stuff? That these guys are in their 60s, allegedly running around and committing jewel heists. And I just spoke about a couple of them. Frank Skip DiPietro, Lucchese associate. There's rumors going out there that he's a made member in the Genovese. I cannot confirm that, so I don't know anything about that. And this guy right here, doing jewel heists dating back to the 1970s. Now, there was also word in an article that one of the other guys, Vincent Spagnolo, who was arrested in 1986, he apparently murdered somebody. I don't know much about that. I didn't find much info on that one. Does Selleck know Kevin Marr? Yeah, right. I think Kevin Marr was trying to go legit by late 70s. No, Kevin Marr was still a jerk. 42,000, that's a great payday. Yeah, especially back then, right? 78, 79, that's pretty good. It's probably like 140,000. Kevin Mars, you're funny, Roy DeMeo. Are you Roy DeMeo or Roy DeMeo's brother? Because I don't think his brother had anything to do with anything. He had two brothers, one whom died in the Korean War, and one who was, I don't know, he might even still be alive. I don't know what's up with his other brother. I was 11 in 78. Yeah. If you guys go on my channel, I did a little walk at Nicky Scarfo's. I walked through the alleyways and shit, which, as far as I know, I'm the only one on YouTube that has ever done that. There's some bullshit videos on YouTube where it's like, yeah, right here before the Nicky Scarfo's house. It's some nonsense. But I actually walk through the alleyways and I walk all around and I drive around Ducktown, and it's a little dicey over there by Scarfo's old on Georgia Avenue, over North Georgia Avenue. When I first pulled up, there was like what obviously looked like drug addicts hanging out. So I waited for them to leave, and then I started filming and walking in the alleyways and walking all around and stuff. And when I was leaving the alleyway, I look on the side, and there's a graffiti. It says "Crack Alley," so that's pretty funny. Crack Alley. Thank you, Ruby. RD357. He said, yeah, sure. He's saying, yeah, sure, because you guys were talking about like bikes and dirt bikes and stuff like that before. And RD, we're going to do a part 2 interview with RD, not so much graffiti. If you're still listening, I want to know about, because I know he's known a lot of people and he's got a lot of stories. But I think the story goes that, I don't know, you can say yes or no, RD. You were involved in like dirt bike thefts and all types of stuff in Manhattan back then, and ninja bikes maybe and stuff like that. And Gas Pipe stole one from you at gunpoint because you were stealing them from probably people, or you were getting involved in something you shouldn't have. And Mr. Casso. And then according to RD, he didn't know who he was. And then in the 90s, with those interviews, he's like, it's a fucking guy that fucking robbed me. But I'll get a better story out of RD on that. On national news today, they installed a drug-related vending machine in New York City. Crack pipe sold out last night, I swear. Yeah, I heard about that. Did they sell out, or they're for free? I think they're for free, Jared. I don't think you have to buy them. I think that crack pipes are free in New York City. So if you need a crack pipe, come to New York City. Where would they used to use them? They used to go in the delis and get those little things with the roses in them. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? All right. So what do you guys think is going to happen with these dudes with the jewel? You think they're going to be found guilty? You think there's a way out of this? One of them is actually Frank DiPietro. He's actually being represented by Matthew Mari, M-A-R-I, who is a mob lawyer, an infamous mob lawyer, actually. He actually represented Tommy Karate during his death penalty trial, and he I think he did stuff on the commission trials. He also represented one of the defendants in the Yusuf Hawkins Bensonhurst thing. Matthew Mari, and he's also has a YouTube channel. He doesn't upload that much. I think it's called I think his channel is called A View from Mulberry, something like that. And he's got some good videos on there. His Tommy Karate video is very interesting because he tells some stories on there that you won't find anywhere as far as Tommy during the trials, and I believe he even knew Tommy Karate before the trials. Matthew Mari, View from Mulberry Street, I believe, is his channel. You guys can check that out. And he is representing Frank DiPietro in the jewel thing right now. In the jewel heists. You know what, JW? That's a good question, man. You think that I would have thought about something like that? I can't say for sure that I read that, to be honest with you. I can't say for sure that they did. Some half-ass wannabe journalist I am, right? STEM. Is that what they call them? STEM? The little rose in the little glass or plastic cylinder that you used to smoke crack out of? All right. Any comments? Anything else? Let me go back up here really quick. Yep. STEM, huh? Mary is a great lawyer. Yeah. I mean, he's basically a legend. I don't think it's even he's a fucking mob lawyer. I mean, I don't even think it's like an insult at this point. I mean, go to his YouTube channel. I mean, he talks a lot about the mob. I mean, he's represented so many of those guys that, I mean, he comes off as almost like a mob apologist sometimes, I think. But I love his channel. I wish he would upload more. Seems like a nice guy. First thing you do is pop the jewels out of the settings and pound the gold flat. Yeah, right. And then you go over to Rick at hardcore Rick over there at the pawn shop. All right. So I think I've been talking about these guys for like 40 minutes. I'm going to check out Mary. Yeah, check him out. I think his channel is View from Mulberry. Or just type in his name, Matthew Mary. I don't know if it's Mari or Mary. I don't know how the right way to pronounce it. But once again, he's representing DiPietro. You should do some Upstate Mafia. Yeah, that would be cool. I would like to learn about that, like the Buffalo, the Magadino stuff, from way back in the day, or the new stuff. I don't like talking about new people that are. I don't like talking about current. I don't. This is so high profile, as I said. Thank you, Roro. Appreciate that. Amazing content. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Back to back, belly to belly. Look at these two. Thank you. New York City. Where's Quentin? He has Quentin Walker. I spoke to Quentin before. Quentin just came from. He was in the courthouse reviewing basically everything from the 1986 a part of the DeMeo crew trials, the ones that were in 86, which would not have been when the Gemini twins and were sentenced and all that was like 89 and stuff. This is like a lot of the Vito Arena testimony, Broadway Freddy, stuff like that. So yeah, he's still writing the book. Quentin is very busy. He's talking to Pete LaFrocia all the time. He's talking to other people. I don't know if I could mention who he's speaking to, but yeah, he's busy. He's busy. Okay, guys. So enough about the geriatric jewel thieves. I think we covered it. You kind of get an idea of these guys' past, kind of get an idea of what they were doing, and we'll cover it again. We'll, once we get some more news later on, we'll see what happens. Okay. Where is that comment that I just saw from you, Centennial? Okay, yeah. What's the deal with this Mikey Muscles you were talking about? Yeah. Yeah, Mikey Muscles is muscles, like arm muscles, not like muscles marinara. Or seafood mussels. This is Mikey Muscles. And we're going to talk about this guy who was murdered by the DeMeo crew in May of 1978. And the reason why we're talking about them, because I've been holding back a lot of interesting information in regard to him for a very long time. And some of it I have spoken about in the past because a friend of mine by the name of Manny Grossman, who runs the channel Undercurrents with Manny Grossman, he has been working on the Son of Sam case for a couple of years, and that case kind of led him in some like bizarre directions at one point where it was like child sex rings and gay bars and all types of crazy stuff. In the end, it didn't really, some of this stuff didn't really connect to the Son of Sam, but it kind of just came at him. It was just kind of, just what he fell into, you know, cults and all this stuff, you know, stuff that he refutes now, that he doesn't even and Ruby, if you want to drop Manny's channel link there, you can. He's kind of done, you know, went back around. 59 watching. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you. When Borelli was locked up in the cars in 81, has he ever been in jail ever? Has he been in jail ever since? No, Borelli's in prison. Yeah, he's in prison. He might have got I think, well, right. So when he was locked up, right, in 81, him and Broadway Freddie, they got out on bail. I'm pretty positive. I'm pretty sure. And that's the photo by the Arch Diner in Brooklyn, surveillance photo. There's two sets of photos. There's the one where it's like Roy, Borelli, Testa. And then there's another one where it's like Carlo Profeta and he's talking to Broadway Freddie. That's after, I'm pretty sure that's after they were bailed out for that. But yeah, but Henry's been locked up since the 1980s. I don't know if he's ever getting out. Gas pipe robbed me. Yeah, true story. Fucking guy. This is so funny, man. Thanks for being here, RD. You're the fucking man, dude. You're so funny. View from Mulberry Street. Yeah, that's the channel. You would actually like that channel, RD. You definitely should check it out. A real mob lawyer. I mean, he's got some great stories. Watch the Tommy Karate one, RD. It's very interesting. View from Mulberry Street. Bobby the Groper Russo. Bobby the Groper is in prison for unspecified. Bobby the Groper Russo? I'm sorry if I don't know who that is. Bobby the Groper Russo. I don't know. I'll look it up. Bobby the Groper Russo. I'm going to look it up. Is this a joke? All right. I didn't get anything when I just looked that up, so. Thank you, my man, G78 from Ireland. Thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's true. But I'm doing other stuff, you know. I like to cover. I don't like to do only mob stuff. I don't. You know, I'm working on a series now that I put out part 1 about a week ago. I'm working on part 2 about a guy by the name of DeVernon Legrand, one of the most bizarre, underreported, forgotten, craziest cases in New York City history. And I mean that. DeVernon Legrand. When we mention guys like Charles Manson, when we talk about guys like Jim Jones, DeVernon Legrand is like number 3. He's like in that. Actually, he's worse than fucking Charles Manson. I mean that with every fiber of my being, even though I hate that term. He is the Black Charles Manson. Let's put it that way. And he belongs in the same annals of history with Jim Jones and all these guys. And for some reason, he's not. I just don't get it. It's one of the craziest stories. You guys, when you get free time, watch part 1, DeVernon Legrand, the Bishop of Crown Heights. I came out with part 1, and I'm working on part 2. Yes, the best of foods, the best of wines. Hey, you know what's funny, Ruby? That was also told to me by somebody else also. That was told to me by somebody else that basically this person told me he was a crackhead. And this is somebody that would certainly know. Would certainly know. Yeah, he referred to him as a effing crackhead because he had some kind of disagreement, and he basically, called him a crackhead. Yeah, David Koresh. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy. I missed the DeVernon vid. I'll check it out. Please do, man. It's. I'll give you a synopsis, and then we'll get to Mikey Muscles. All right, DeVernon Legrand. Okay. DeVernon Legrand is a guy who got started in the 1940s, and what he was doing was he was first arrested back into the 1940s for sexual assault, attempted abortion. So he would get out of prison, and then he would start with these scams where he would get these. And if anybody's old school that grew up in New York City in the 70s and 80s, you're probably familiar with some of the aspects of what I'm about to talk to you about. So DeVernon LeGrand was a guy who would get women to basically dress up as nuns, and they would go out into the streets, and he would drive them around all around the city, and they would collect donations posing as nuns, right? And he was running this scam from tabernacle to tabernacle, this church to that church, and ultimately, all the churches that he was running the scams out of, they would eventually get busted up. So in the 1950s, DeVernon LeGrand figures out that he's going to become a bishop himself, and he's going to start the St. John's Pentecostal Church of Our Lord at 222 Brooklyn Avenue in Crown Heights. And he, bit by bit, he starts gaining more real estate, and he starts building this church family. By the 1960s, it's estimated that he had around 50 children, and he had nuns all over the city, nuns collecting charity for him. And he was loaded, and they would see him driving around in a Cadillac, and he'd have all this money. He would have a home, which he said was an orphanage on Brooklyn Avenue in Crown Heights, where about 50 children lived and numerous women. He was basically running a harem, right? He had all these women, and he was banging all of them, and he was having all these children. Now, and then into the 1960s, he gets the accusations start coming: kidnap, rape, sexual assault. I don't want to get too far ahead because I'm still doing the series, but let's just say he died in prison. He went to prison for life for multiple homicides. He is suspected in the 1970s by Eugene Gold, famous prosecutor, a district attorney, of at least 15 murders. And 2 of those murders are teenage girls. And he had about 50 children. And it is one of the most bizarre, underreported stories in American history. I mean that. I mean that. And I spoke to his daughter recently. And I'm not going to get into that, but I spoke to his daughter, and I'm hoping that she's going to speak to me again. My friend Lori Brown was one of his nuns. Are you serious? All right, listen, I got to talk to you about that. Are you serious? I spoke to his daughter recently. Wild stuff. And you know what? His daughter had been in the news over the past few years because apparently she didn't know where her mother was for many years, and basically she thought her father must have killed the mother. And it's just really crazy. All right. I'm going to stop talking about it. Have you ever thought about interviewing former mobsters like Michael Francis, Sammy the Bull, John Panisi? I had a little tiff with Michael Francis' team once. So I filmed an area of New York City called The Hole, which is on the border of like Brooklyn and Queens. It's technically Lindenwood, and it's where they buried the 3 capos. Where they found the 3 capos buried. And his team took my footage for him to do a video and used my footage without crediting me with the footage that I filmed walking through that disgusting area of New York City. And Michael Franzese, I don't even believe the story that he told in relation to The Hole, because he came up with some generic ass story. Oh, my mobster friend, he said, I want to show you something. And he just drove me through there, and he said, I don't believe his fucking story. But here's the thing with that. I was in talks with his team, and I spoke to one of his handler guys or whatever, and I tried to work with his team. I told him that, I do a lot of filming in New York City, and I'm always doing location footage, and I would love to work with you guys. If Michael needs location footage, he talks a lot about these areas. Instead of stealing my footage and footage from other YouTube guys, if you guys need footage, I would love to go out there and we could work together. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah. I never heard back. Sammy the Bull charges I won't pay. John Panisi does a test on how many subscribers and other people you've interviewed before he goes on your channel. And to be honest, Big Pin Fitness, I have been in talks with a lot of some other people in the mob whatever sphere, whether they be content creators, whether they be former mobsters. I email with these people, and then I leave off with the last email. Oh, sounds great. You just let me know when you want to do this. And basically, for lack of a better term, the phone line goes dead. And people don't like to email back. They don't. So maybe they don't like me. So I don't know what it is. So I'm to the point, Big Pin Fitness, where I don't look to collaborate with people in this genre. I don't look to. I don't know, because it doesn't work out, and it kind of just makes me sick to be honest with you. So I stopped contacting people. Only people outside of like mob genre I contact, like my man right here, RD357. I interviewed Gilberto Valle, the cannibal cop. I reached out to other couple of people for interviews. You know, I don't want to interview people in this with this mob shit. I really don't. Except for my friend Pete the Pick LaFrosia. That's my friend. We're gonna talk to him again. Man, when you're doing your way, doing a solid, you don't need none of these people. Yeah, and I don't mean that in the bad way, because these people who I have email with, I actually watch their channels. Like, I have nothing against them. But, you know, I don't actively, like, contact these people to, like, work with them or do anything with them because, like I said, the phone line goes dead, and I'm a fucking man. Oh, can you please, man? You never got back to me in the fucking email. Please collaborate with me. No, I don't care, dude. You don't want to do anything. That's fine. Derek Hinman, Pete the Pick. Yeah, Pete the Pick, LaFrosia. Yeah, and I'm not a mobster, exactly. Obviously, I'm not a mobster. I've seen a couple, but I'm not a mobster. Definitely have seen a couple. Crime Spot Unit. Yeah. And I'm not even saying they're bums, because like I said, I watch their stuff. I mean, whether they're a creator in the genre or whether they're an actual mobster. There was another mobster guy that I actually like, and I spoke like 5 times through an email and even on the phone to his guy, and then the fucking phone line goes dead. So I'm not gonna like beg people to come and interview and work together. I had another guy I reached out to. I offer people to even film stuff for their channel while I'm filming for my channel, like guys that were in that life. It's like, dude, I'm gonna work for free for you. I'm gonna actually like produce content for you. All I want from you is to help produce something for my channel too, and then it's all good, because most of these guys have no technical skills whatsoever. But you know, I don't care. It is what it is. This is New York City Crime Spot, not Mafia Crime Spot. That's why there's plenty of videos on my channel that are not mob related. Actually, my biggest video on my channel has nothing to do with the mob, and it's got over 300,000 views. It has nothing to do with the mob. So what about the boss that killed in Jersey by some not marvelous scary ass? Yeah, so that I think, was that Jersey or was that Staten Island? Frank Cali. I think it was Staten Island. Yeah, that was killed by the QAnon psychopath. What's his name? What the hell is his name? The kid Karam. Now that's going to bother me too. And I'm going to get to Mikey Muscles. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to get to Mikey Muscles. We're going to talk about Mikey Muscles. Who is the guy that killed Frank Cali? Does anyone remember his name? Does anybody remember? I'm going to look it up. I don't know why I think it's like Camelo or something. Anthony Camello. I was right. Yeah, Anthony Camello. Anthony Camello is some weird kid that was like obsessed with the whole QAnon thing, and he was into like conspiracy theories and stuff. And I don't know if he knew Frank Cali's daughter or somewhere in his family, or he was having some delusions, or Frank Cali was like somehow with QAnon, which sounds so dumb, but the kid was very deranged. And yeah, so it's actually not a mob hit. It's actually a hit by a QAnon psychopath. It's not a mob hit whatsoever. Yeah. So I'm going to get to Mikey Muscles, a couple of more comments. What made you want to do an exercise YouTube? I really like Sean. Keep what you can. I appreciate that, Big Pin Fitness. Every time I see your name, I want to say Big Pun for some reason. It's just the way I see it. Big Punisher, Big Pun. Boredom. 100% boredom, my man. Ever since I was a kid, I was obsessed with documentary films. I still am, especially a lot of like the weird old like HBO stuff. I've always been obsessed with that, like late 90s, early 2000s, like HBO documentaries, or those weird gritty like programs that they used to come out with. If you guys are familiar with stuff like that, whether it be like even something like Taxi Cab Confessions, Hookers at the Point. Even before that, there was this crazy Rikers Island documentary that came out in the 90s that influenced the show Oz. Actually, even some of the music was in that Rikers Island documentary. Ended up being like the theme song for the show Oz, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. There was so much weird, like gritty, like HBO documentaries that I grew up watching as a kid. And I just always loved that stuff. And I always thought that I could be like a documentary filmmaker. And I'm really not at that point, but it's always something I wanted to do. And I just woke up one day and said, I could start a YouTube channel. I actually started because a good friend of mine by the name of Tommy, we had started going out and looking at mob locations just for fun. We were just like looking at like, because he's always been about that stuff. And years ago, when I knew nothing about the mob, I knew nothing. He would tell me about the Westies and he would tell me about all this stuff. And he got me a little bit into like years ago, like when I was a teen. And he's a little older than me. And then, yeah, like 3 years ago, started hanging out and just like, hey, let's go check these spots out. Louis DeBono is the reason the world should class on 9/11. That's pretty funny. Yeah, he was the first crime at, I think, at that place, and then you had the 1993 Ramzi Yusuf bombing there, and after that you had 9/11. But I think something else happened there too. I think there was another crime. Louis DeBono murdered by Charlie Carniglia, Kevin McMahon. And I believe Bobby Borriello was there also. Here's a character that may interest you. Raymond Marquez, the king of Bolita in New York City. I still think he lives, so probably about 90. Wow. Raymond Marquez. Okay, I'll look that up. Raymond Marquez, the king of Bolita. Interesting. Dude, as a kid growing up, I love all the HBO. Even like, yeah, all that stuff was so cool. And you know what's so cool about it even now? Like when I look back at those documentaries, they're so like low budget. Like a lot of the stuff that you see, it's like you could probably almost do something better than that with like an iPhone now. But I love that stuff. Like I love simplicity. Like I watch some of the Netflix documentaries and some of them are like so like overly done. And I'm just used to like low budget stuff like that. To me, like it's like the best stuff. Like to me, it doesn't matter like the budget. It's like the editing and the way you bring it to the world. I just hate overproduced documentaries. It just takes a lot of the grittiness away from documentaries. And to me, I think documentaries are not supposed to be like movies. They're supposed to be just more toned down, more educational, and it shouldn't matter. Like it shouldn't cost millions of dollars to make a documentary, in my opinion. Anybody should be able to make one. That's just my opinion. Oz is my fix, yeah. RDC OJ FYC. Brett, you have any shirts worth saying? I do not. I slacked off big time. I have designs for that. I do not. Hey, great show. Hey, King Arthur knew Harvey Chris Rosenberg growing up. I'm sorry, Arthur. Every time you're in my chat, I have to tell people that in case they don't know that you grew up. I'm going to say, well, you grew up knowing him and his family. Harvey Chris Rosenberg. Yeah. He knows some good stuff. Dominic Kroger. Have you heard of Marco Buddy Palugi and Dominic Kroger? I did hear something about Pelosi in this once. I actually did. I don't recall what it was. It's probably what you're talking about. I did hear something. I'll look that up. I looked it up. And believe me, I will look it up. Because I always go back to my chats when people make comments like this. and because I never remember. Orlando Gomez News. Yeah, it's very interesting. A lot of the Hispanic gangs in New York City. I always wanted to know, the guy who wrote the Carlitos Way. He says it's based off somebody from that era, a Puerto Rican guy, or it's like an amalgamation of like two guys, but he never said who they were. So I always wanted to know who his thing was inspired by. DeBono's company was supposed to spray the beams with fireproofing retardant and use asbestos instead. Even though, yeah, he's a piece of shit, that guy. He was a real piece of crap. What did John Gotti call him? Jelly Belly. Ever doing videos on famous legendary prisoners? So check out Soldier Brother George Jack. 100%. Oh, Jesus. Wow, that's crazy. You know what I wanted to do? Actually, I wanted to do, and I'm going to do it. I wanted to do a story profiling prisoners of the Attica riots. I have two in particular that were there during the Attica riots. One of them I have covered on my channel. Actually, I've covered two of them. One of them being Harvey Marcellin, or Marcellin Harvey, who surfaced in March of 2022 as a 83-year-old murderer, serial killer. Yeah, an 83-year-old transgender serial killer by the name of Harvey Marcellin, or at that time was going by the name Marcellin Harvey, from 1966 to 2022. Harvey Marcellin, he murdered a woman in 1966. He got out of jail in the 80s, got another girlfriend, murdered her, chopped her up, left her in Central Park, got out in 2022 as a transgender woman, murdered a woman by the name of Susan Layden, who was living at the Stonewall Houses, which was a retirement home in Manhattan or Brooklyn somewhere for gay and lesbian senior citizens, basically. He's an octogenarian murderer, and he was in the Attica riots, and I did a story on him on my channel. I was thinking about writing to him. He's on Rikers Island right now. Very interesting guy. And the other one that was in the Attica riots was, I'm pretty sure, was the guy who killed Kitty Genovese. What's his name? Winston. I'm drawing a blank. I'm really sorry. The guy who killed Kenny Genovese, the one that I said looks like the freaking Candy Man. Johnny Caputo, thank you so much, buddy. I've been obsessed with this stuff, so I was kicking around with you. I still say you're talented, brother. Keep pumping up the. Thank you, Johnny. I really appreciate that. That means a lot, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, bro. Fear City was overdone. You should do a DeMeo crew chat. Everyone donate $10. I knew both Marquez and Nunez. Crime Spot, do you like 20th Century? Do you like... I haven't watched that. No, I don't know. I haven't watched that. The Attica riots was sparked by the killing of George Jackson happened a week or two after George. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff, and there's another guy. I'm forgetting his name. I want to say he's like a Native American dude who was like really involved in that. I don't recall. Love that story, bagging up women, drop body. Yeah, sick dude, man. Into his 80s, he got out of jail and he was still murdering people. Unbelievable. Did Pete ever tell you what Herman Barrella like? He says he's very Machiavellian. That's basically what he said. So you do that with that, with you will. How much do you think charge to dispose of a body? How much did he charge? Well, I'll put it to you like this. As far as him getting paid or paying people to do things, he was contracted out to kill somebody who I'm about to talk to, and I swear to God, I'm going to talk about Mikey Muscles any minute now. He was contracted out to kill the guy that I'm about to talk to. He was paid, I believe, $10,000 by Douglas Rega to kill Douglas Rega's uncle, Fred Todaro, who was a smut peddler who had a place called Criterion Labs in Manhattan. So $10,000 seems to be the number. Then there was also the incident of John Quinn and Sherry Golden, where Joseph Bennett claimed that Pete LaFrosia and Roy sent Pete LaFrosia actually to convince Bennett to kill John Quinn for $10,000. So that's an example of Roy willing to pay somebody to do something. But Roy certainly took contract killings from families. He was somebody that was a real, out of the box, as they say. I don't know. Hey, Nixie, can you find this part? Yeah, I think I can. I'm sure I could. Definitely. That would be pretty cool. I'd probably just have to look back on some old, I'll check like a couple of news archives or whatever, some stuff like that. Did you ever see the Ice Done with the Undercover Cop who took down a few made men? Don't know what the title is, but it's on YouTube. The guy's hilarious. Could be comedy. Are you talking about the one that has the guy who was in Carlito's Way in it? Who's the mobster in Carlito's Way? His name in Carlito's Way is like Tony Taglialucci or something. But I think he is also featured in an HBO documentary as a guy who was like connected to the mob or something. If that's what you're talking about, Rick. The guy from New Jersey, Rick. I don't know. 10K. Okay, guys. I'm finally going to get to this. All right, let's get to Mikey Muscles. Now, does anybody know who about the murder of Mikey Muscles by the DeMeo crew in May of 1978? Is anyone familiar with that murder? The circumstances behind that? I'm going to take a drink. This is what I'm drinking. Old Forester. Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey, 100 proof. Yeah, that would be cool. Actually, my friend Kevin Marr, Big Pin Fitness, he was affiliated with a guy by the name of Joseph Joey Bikini Brachini, another guy who was killed by Roy DeMeo. Jesus. And according to Kevin, he had first met Joey Bikini and this guy by the name of Jimmy Nace because one of their operations was out of a candy store in Astoria, which is pretty cool. So yeah, definitely could talk about that. There's probably a lot of like Greek mob in Astoria too, I'm pretty sure. Definitely. I guess I could. Yeah, you did ask me. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think I could. Yeah. Muscles was a pedo. Yeah, he was a pedo. Dracula shoved a brush pole up his backside. Joseph Dracula Guglielmo, the cousin of Roy DeMeo. Okay, so let's get into Mikey Muscles, guys. I'm going to show you a lot of stuff. Over the past couple of years doing this channel, speaking about this guy a couple of times, I have gotten emails from people in Brooklyn who have supplied me with some cool stories in reference to this guy, Mikey Muscles. I'll show you the emails. I'm not going to put the name of the person on there. If that person's in this chat right now, I don't know. I haven't heard from these people in a while. But so I'm going to share with you some of this information. So Mikey Muscles, real name Mikey DiCarlo, but there's a little alternate stories about whether his name was Mikey DiCarlo or Michael DeMarco. And I'm going to tell you exactly why and how those stories come about. Slowpoke, what's up, man? Did you say something before? I'm sorry. I saw your email before, and I agree with you. I've already thought about doing that, and I'm not worried about being prosecuted for something like that. So you guys keep talking about Joseph Dracula Guglielmo, and I queued up a picture for this too. Let me show you that picture. You guys want to see a rare picture of Dracula, of Joseph Dracula Guglielmo? I'll show you it. Uno segundo, por favor. Where you at? Where are you at? Where are you at? All right, let's do this. Let me show you a rare photo of Joseph Dracula Guglielmo. Let me show you that. Oh shit! There he is. There he is. Joey Dracula. This is taken in 1970. Arrested for a robbery gone awry. Bits of this robbery is I believe is spoken about in Murder Machine. I think they get some things wrong actually. He was a sick son of a bitch, and he had went to court after this, and he was going nuts in court. This is all documented, like throwing shit at the judge. I think he tried to like slice his wrists open at one point. So there he is, Joey Dracula Guglielmo in 1970. Now let me take that away. That was a cool photo, huh, guys? And Joseph Dracula was in his 40s at that time, and he would go to prison for that robbery and other robberies. And he would be in prison until I think that's either 75 or 76. So when you guys read that stupid fucking Iceman book where Richard Kuklinski's hanging out with Joseph Dracula in 1973 and they're beating him up, not true. Dracula was in prison. According to Albert DeMeo, he dropped him off at an airport, but the FBI thinks the Gemini Tim's took it out. Yeah, my friend who's writing the next book on Roy DeMeo, Quentin Walker, he's got some intel on that he believes to be true. Looks like a vampire. No wonder why it's his name. Yeah, and it's cool if you watch Dominic Montiglio, The Life, Ross Brodar's channel. You actually get to hear Dracula speak, and you get to see some video footage of him. And to me, he sounds like Sylvester Stallone. He's like, hey. I think he's talking about some food on the table. He's like, hey, that looks delicious. Ooh. He sounds like, to me, that's what he sounds like. I don't know. Yeah, unfortunately, he did. There's still like some debate about this. People, listen, he did. All right. Anal penetrator. What he said is correct right there. What a name, anal penetrator. What's the matter with you, bro? All right. Jesus Christmas. Let's get to Mikey Muscles. All right. Finally. Okay. So Mikey Muscles was a guy who was around Brooklyn in the 1970s, and of course before that, but he was what you would call a known pederast. He liked to be with underage boys, and he had a lot of muscles, and apparently he had also worked out at a local gym where he would have boys there and everything else. So I just want to get this right because originally, so I'm going to show you some pieces of police files. And Ruby Almighty right there. She probably knows more about this than I do, to be honest with you. Because this comes from my friend Manny Grossman. So here's the etymology of these files. So that this thing was called Boys at the Gym was DeMarco. You see, Brandon BK, were you the one that sent me that email? Because I'm going to show it. I wasn't going to say the name, but is that you that sent me those emails? Because I cut out any emails and names. I'm just going to go over because there's been like 3 different people who have sent me emails over the past couple of years. So the files that I'm going to show you is files from a guy by the name of Detective Rothstein, and he was doing something with the NYPD task force called That is you, Brandon. Oh, shit. You're the man, dude. Yeah, so I'm going to show you yours and then the other guy who corroborated your story, which gives even more credence to it. So this, and you'll like this too, Brandon. This is from, but I think you've actually seen this. This is from Operation Together. Now, the point of Operation Together from Rothstein was basically to, they were investigating underage child sex rings, the gay bar scenes in Manhattan, and basically trafficking of youths. And there you go, Operation Together, Ruby Almighty. And yeah, so I want to show you a couple of things in particular in regards to Mikey Muscles, sometimes called Mary Muscles, sometimes called Marion Muscles. And the story goes as far as the Roy DeMeo aspect. And this is how I became friends with my friend Manny Grossman, because he was doing the Son of Sam stuff. And yeah, but I think Galati says Rothstein or something like that, right? So and he put out these Rothstein files, and I was following his channel, but we weren't friends. And I was looking at all this, and then Mikey Muscles' name is. I'm like, holy shit! Look at this fucking thing, Mikey Muscles. That's the guy who Roy DeMeo killed. So, as somebody mentioned before, in May of '78, I believe it was. I think it was May of '78. The story goes that he had, I guess, he kind of molested or did something to a mob affiliate's child or something, and Roy basically got the contract to kill this guy, and they would lure him to the Gemini and into the back apartment. And the story goes that he was beaten with a hammer, and Joseph Dracula, the guy that I showed you before, apparently sodomizes him with the broomstick or something of the sort. And they just basically brutalize this guy, and he ends up at the Fountain Avenue dump. Yeah. Lucchese gave the contract. Yeah. Roy taking contracts. He was already made by that time too, taking contracts on the low from other families. That's how Roy rolled. Oh. So let's look at these files real quick. Now, these files have a lot of interesting names in them. Some guys connected to the porn scene or the gay bar scene, like Ed the Skull Murphy, a very interesting guy. Nicky DiMartino, some really interesting characters. But we're just going to show you like this little tiny snippets here. So let me just open this stuff up, and you guys can see. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do it differently now. Like I said, I'm not trying to overlay it over my face. I'm trying to present it the right way. Oh shit! What happened? Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, I got it. My bad. Okay, now I'm going to do that. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this is part of these Rothstein files we're going to look at right now. So there's a bunch of names that you see, guys. This is from June 23rd of 72. There's a bunch of names you see here. Larry Bachner. But the second name is the one that stood out to me when Manny released these photos. Marion Muscles, a.k.a. Mikey Muscles. Big pimp for boys. Lives on Flatbush Avenue. Drives green Volkswagen, Massachusetts plates. I don't know what's with the Mass plates. House has tight security. Keeps kids in the house at times by force. That's Mikey Muscles. Right there. He appeared in these files that Manny received and blew my mind when I saw these a couple years ago, really. And then he also so he shows up in these files, which is very, very interesting. And he also gets mentioned another part in these files. I can't quite make sense of what they're getting at. It appears to me that they're speaking about a murder, I believe, and I think they're trying to say that it's unlikely that he's involved. Let's see. So you get that. So right there, they refer to him as Mary Muscles, which I've heard also. More likely, a combination will be Mary Muscles, a guy by the name of Willie Dunn, a guy by the name of Weeks. They are very tight. And this is talking about a murder. This is talking about, so the confidential informant here is going by the name Nevada. So we don't know who the confidential informant is. And now this is from March 20th of 74. And it's just basically throughout these files, it's talking about, dealing underage children, basically, and murders and suspicious murders, child sex rings, gay bars in Manhattan. Not that I'm not trying to say gays and child. I'm not trying to say that. It's just that's what's in these files here. And Mikey Muscles, early 70s, was appearing in police files for doing stuff with children. And very bizarre. Ben Rose is Nevada. Okay. Thank you. You see, Ruby knows more about this than I do. I just know it from the Mikey Muscles angle. I was gay for Mafia in Portland 20 years. Tragedy stuff. I tripped out of the scene. We handled business back then. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. The gay bar scene is also a drug market. He got what he deserved. Bad idea. Yeah, I wish I knew more about that aspect of the story. I do not. Ben Rose is Nevada. Okay. All right. So that's the Mikey Muscles appearing in the early 1970s for pedo stuff. Wild. Now, let's get to some emails that I have received in regards to Mikey Muscles to develop more information about this character. And one of them comes from who just commented before, Brandon BK. And he says that it was him that sent one of these emails. So let's look at some of this testimony from people who. So let's see. Muscles testimony part 1. Okay. And this is, to me, this is really cool stuff. But I don't know. I hope you guys like this. But Muscles testimony part 1. Let's pull this up. This is from somebody out of Brooklyn. Okay. My story with Mikey Muscles. Well, when I was, I guess, around 13 or 14, they opened King's Plaza, which is on Flatbush Avenue, for those who don't know. And we would hang out there. And Mikey Muscles would be there walking around flexing. But who knew what he was really about? I mean, we were young. Anyway, one night we were at the church fair across on Flatbush Avenue. Maybe 2 blocks behind. Maybe 2 blocks in behind was, I think, a car dealership now. So it was my cousin Johnny, my friend Mike, and a few other kids we hung out with. Mikey Muscles was there. He came over to me and pushed me down on the table. My cousin and my friends started grabbing and pulling him, and he wouldn't let me go. My cousin Johnny's sister Connie was dating a cop who was a bodybuilder. When we told him what happened, he wanted to lay Mike out, but nothing ever came of it. Fast forward to when Murder Machine is published, I'm reading about what happened to him, and I gotta say, I cheered out loud. Anyway, that's some of growing up and living in Flatlands, Canarsie. So that is a testimony from somebody who was actually attacked by this person at King's Plaza Mall. Let's see. Are there any actual DeMeo associates still alive except for Pete? Any actual DeMeo associates still alive except for Pete? Yeah, there is some of them that are still alive. There is some of them. Yeah. How level of associate varies, but yeah, there is some of them. Carlo Profeta is still alive. Carlo Profeta is still alive. So Brandon's saying that's Mikey DeMarco. All right, we're going to get to Brandon's too. Now, let's see. I don't know what order, if Brandon's is going to come up first or second. So that's Mikey DeMarco. That's number 1. Now, this is going to be number 2. Now, this might be you, Brandon. I'm not too sure. Now, let's see. Okay. Hey, bud, I just watched your video with Manny Grossman, and this is in regards to Mikey Muscles. Back in the 70s in Brooklyn, my father was good friends with a tough guy by the name of Michael DiCarlo. Now, for you guys that don't know, Michael DiCarlo is the name they use in Murder Machine, who was known as Mikey Muscles. At the same time, there was another Mikey Muscles who my father knew as an acquaintance that was known to hang out with little boys. Both of them were bodybuilders, and both were killed by the DeMeo crew. We believe they got their names mixed up and referred to the pedophile as Michael DiCarlo. My father believes his actual name was Michael DeMarco. I'm writing all this to you to see if you have any information about the real name in the police FBI paperwork. Thanks for the help. Also, my father has described the pedophile as tall, jacked muscles. He said he was ugly and weird looking with a flat face, thick glasses, and he was balding with a nasty comb over. That sounds disgusting. So this is already like something weird. So we're seeing names getting mixed up. We're seeing somebody, I think this is you, Brandon, I'm not sure, saying that there was 2 Mikey Muscles. All right, but it gets even better. It gets even better because this is one account right there from somebody else, right? Now check this out. Now I just got to see which one this is. All right, so that's one account. Now I have another one here, which we're going to look at too. Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to get this. Okay, guys. Now this is going to be another one. So I just showed you that one, right? This is going to be from a completely different person. All right. That's Brandon's email. All right. So this is Brandon's email. That was the one that I just read. Okay. Now check this out. This is going to be from somebody completely different. Okay. Okay. Let's check this out. Okay. Let's open this up. Mikey DiCarlo was from Bensonhurst and never ventured near Kings Plaza. He was about 5'8" tall and in good shape, a crazy son of a bitch that had been shot about 5 times. DeMarco was about 6 feet tall, roided out, and always had teenage wannabes hanging around him. Okay, what does that sound like? I used to work out at R&J Health Studio, and DeMarco would venture in from time to time. Everyone at the gym knew DeMarco was a piece of shit and was told by the owner, Jules Levine. He also made a mistake of mouthing off to a guy named Dennis Tinerino, one time Mr. America and Mr. Universe. He got smacked in the mouth. Now, here's where it gets odd. The DeMeo crew definitely killed DeMarco, Mikey Muscles, but might have also killed DiCarlo as he disappeared as well and would have been seen with the younger guys. I don't believe DiCarlo was gay, but was probably killed for some other reason. Many neighborhood guys get killed. Yeah, we know that. But one described in your video is definitely not DiCarlo. I last saw DeMarco the day he got thrown out of R&J and heard later on he had disappeared. I last saw DiCarlo just prior to the Son of Sam's last shooting. So that would have been in 77, Son of Sam's last shooting. Mikey Muscles, DeMeo, sodomized child pedophile, was killed in 78. But the one described in your video is definitely not DiCarlo. I'm sorry, I'll read that again. I last saw DiCarlo just prior to the Son of Sam's last shooting. He was in a car with a bunch of guys and they were hunting Son of Sam, and they all had guns. That's great. And that's the last time I saw him. One last thing you might find interesting is that another bodybuilder from that gym also got killed. I did look into the Cesar Giuliani. If you think of anything else I can help with you, just write back. So there you go, guys. There's another person telling me that in Murder Machine, that Michael DiCarlo is not Michael DiCarlo. His real name is Michael DeMarco. So what are the odds that two different people who don't know each other would send me these two exact stories? And this is like a famous story in Murder Machine. This is like one of the ones that people talk about because, you know, he was killing a pedo, right? Now the last one that I have is, once again, I think it's the second email that I received from Brandon BK right there. So let me just show you guys that one really quick. Share screen. Okay, so he says, thanks for getting back to me. The fact that someone else is out there said the same thing is very vindicating. My father has been telling me all my life that Murder Machine has it wrong. Michael DiCarlo lived near Avenue U and Gravesend, but mostly hung out in Bensonhurst. He worked out at a no-name gym between 20th Ave and 80th and 81st Street. He was a good-looking guy, tremendous muscle. He was brutal and ruthless individual that did many bad things. The story goes that Chris Rosenberg was dealing with him, and DiCarlo was probably beating him and robbing him. This is probably one of the reasons they killed him. And yes, he was definitely killed by the DeMeo crew. My father knew Michael DeMarco. He was a big guy, 6 foot tall. They were both known as Mikey Muscles and both killed by the DeMeo crew on the same time. They have it down that Michael DiCarlo molested a boy, but we believe that they mixed up the names. Can you guys believe that, huh? So 2 stories from 2 different individuals saying the same exact thing. Does Murder Machine have it wrong? 30 years? Has it been wrong? I'm starting to think so. Now, the only thing that sucks is that in the Rothstein files, it doesn't have a name. It just says Mikey Muscles. That's unfortunate, but what can you do? Roy probably killed both of them. Who didn't he kill? Yeah, who didn't he kill is right. I follow Chicago Bucks. I'm a Live Creek man from Los Angeles. I've been seeing a lot of Chinese in the channel talking about red dragons. That'd be cool. Yeah, there's a channel right now, Forgotten Streets, where they're doing all the Chinatown. They're getting all the old China associates, all the old Vietnamese and Chinese gang associates from that time. They're actually coming out and talking. Mean mug, you're making bones. Chinese mob is scary. Mr. Robot. Yeah, back in the show, it was hard. There was the rest because the language were how good. Yeah, they had the Vietnamese there, the BTK, the Born to Kill, and then you had like the Ghost Shadows, Flying Dragons, stuff like that. I think it's called Forgotten Streets. Check out that channel. Yeah, they're really holding it down. I left a comment on one of their videos because somebody said something. One of the guys they had on there said something about 14th Ave and 86th Street. Those Italians were really the real guys, you know, and that's actually the 19th hole, the Lucchese spot. Gas pipe, Christy Tick before that. The Fook Ching, yeah, the Fook Chings. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. I know more of New York City gang, especially Bloods. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of Bloods. It's like a lot of Bloods. Are you in the Bronx, Ruby? I forget. I don't know if I've ever asked you at all. Elvin Jones, Merry-Go-Round, 1972, 96-24. I don't know what to do with that information. But thanks. Is that a song? Appreciate that. Simon Irvine. I want to be an honorary Crip. Do you? Oh, music. Okay. Okay. I figured it was a song. Thank you. Used to live in the Bronx. Okay. Ha 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 ha. What else is going on, guys? Anything else you want to talk about? We talked about those geriatric jewel thieves. Mr. Alaska. I just bought an old copy. It comes with a great book. I'm going to see if you could sign it. Yeah, that would be awesome. Don't tell him you bought an old copy. He gets pissed. He wants people to buy new copies. But what are you going to do? When you buy stuff on Amazon, I think sometimes you don't even know that you're buying a used copy sometimes. Kind of don't want to be rolled in. Thank you for making this video and showing the other email that vindicated my dad's old stories. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I love it. One of the best things about starting this channel was like all these stories I get from people. It's just crazy stuff. And, you know, the idea that your dad is saying that and somebody else is saying that, somebody that you guys don't even know each other. At least I don't think you know each other. And you're both saying the same things. It's wild. It is wild. And I think I'm starting to really, you know, I think I've come to the accept that Jerry Capisi got it wrong. I mean, because you guys, your family, you know, your dad and this other guy, you guys are actually there. So it's like you guys know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? What about any bank robberies? Bank robberies. Huh. I don't know. Is there any really good ones? I don't know. I'm not sure. I was reading some old news articles like about like Vinny Asaro and like some other guys doing bank robberies recently. That was pretty cool to read those. But I don't know. That would be cool to do some bank robbery stuff. I would love to do that. Any Pete LaFrosia interviews coming soon? You know, guys, I don't know. I did think so at one point, but it's hard to get a hold of this guy. Now, I know that Quentin's been talking to him, but it's like I spoke, you know, he left me a message about a month ago because we were supposed to work on something with somebody else. And I said, okay. Kind of like what I was saying earlier. And it's not the same, but kind of like what I was saying earlier with people never getting back to you after like having email exchanges with you. Kind of the same thing with Pete, where I say, okay, man, sounds good. Awesome. And then I just don't fucking hear back. Or I'll call and like he can only speak at certain times. So I don't want to talk too much about it, but Pete's great. I love Pete. And you know, I want to do something. I want to make a documentary on Pete, but he was supposed to come to New York City, and I don't know. It never happened. I don't know what the hell happened. Anyone know what the Gemini twins and Henry used to do and go to when socializing, partying in New York City? Used to do and go to when socializing, partying? I don't know. Probably what everyone else was doing. Cocaine, partying, dancing, women. Speaking of Pete LaFrosia, Big Monty, Pete told a story where, what is it? Okay, so he was at the Gemini Lounge, right? And they do like the Friday shape up meetings. You know, they go there, have dinner Friday night or whatever. And they were fucking doing coke all the time. Testa and Center, apparently. And Pete said that they're all out there, and it was obvious that, like, according to Pete, that Center was all, you know, messed up on blow. And then Roy's looking at him, and then Roy like goes like this, licks his finger, and then just whacks Center in his nose, like, and then he starts yelling at him, "One fucking night, you can't not fucking do blow one fucking night. Get out of here!" He starts like screaming at him because he was so pissed that they were like blasted off coke. Pete was like, "Oh shit." You said that was a story that Pete told that happened outside the Gemini. So yeah, I mean, probably just doing what everyone else was doing back then. I wasn't alive, but what else is there to do when you're in your 20s, when you have thousands upon thousands of dollars, fancy cars, when cocaine is at its best, when the nightclub scene in Manhattan and wherever else is at legendary heights? What else are you going to do? I can't do that. That's funny. I don't know about that. Brett, have you ever any Ronald Turek and start with the spelling? He was part of the meeting. I do. Yeah, that's one of the associates that's still around. Yeah. Turekian. 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 Ronald Bulldog Turekian. Yeah. Yeah, so Turekian is not hard to find. You could look him up. It's really not hard to find. He's around. Whether he would want to talk about, you know, he was very low level with the crew. He was peripherally, you know, involved in a murder of Joseph Scorney with Vito Arena and Richie Denome. I don't know if he would want to talk. I really don't know. Any family members that experience with encounter with the mob? Yeah, I mean, there is some stuff there. Out of respect for that situation, I can't talk about it. Kinda, yeah, yeah. I'm not Italian, so no, I didn't grow up in an Italian household. I don't have any Italian family members, so it's not from that standpoint, but it is from family that was friends with certain people that honestly would be not in my place to talk about, unfortunately. Um, I have had some funny encounters with interesting characters. One of them, I won't say his name, but one of them, I'll tell you guys a funny story. Do you know if anyone who's in contact with Borelli and the twins in prison? No, I don't. I really don't. No. And from what I hear, like, I think that Borelli is like, I don't know if he's got diabetes. I don't even know if his vision is like not great. I don't know. Yeah, so yeah, there's a couple things there, but I don't think I'm at liberty to talk about. I have a funny story about a particular guy who I won't say his name, but I'll tell you a funny story. There's this guy where I grew up, right? So where I grew up is a place in Queens called Whitestone. If you guys are familiar with this place. Now Whitestone, in its history, has a history of very high profile mob people dating back to, I mean, a lot of Lucchese for some reason. I mean, Tommy Lucchese had a house there. Carmine Tremonti, Tony Ducks had 2 houses in Whitestone. So it's always kind of been like this mob place, but not really billed as like a mafia neighborhood, if that makes sense. It's not like a Bensonhurst, but it's always kind of been like this little place in Queens that is kind of like, you could be on Long Island within like 15, 20 minutes. You can be in Manhattan in like 25, 30 minutes, or Brooklyn. It's kind of like one of the last, not the last neighborhood before Long Island, but it's like North Queens, right? North to Northeast Queens, kind of that whole thing. And I had worked at a place in Whitestone, let's just say food service, right? The food service industry. Growing up into my late teens, into like early 20s, I worked at this place for a long time. And there'd be this guy that would always come in. I'm not going to say his name. He would always come in, and he had an awesome car collection, like vintage cars. When I say vintage cars, like, I'm not talking about like a 68 like Chevelle or something. I'm talking about like a 1940s, 1930s, like real gangster era shit, right? And he used to come in all the time, and it didn't hit me at the time. And he would dress the fucking role, and sometimes he'd have a guy driving him around, and he would come in all the time, and he would get the same thing, right? So there's this one time he was coming, and he pulls up in this classic car, and I'm like, oh, this fucking guy, here we go. So I have the bright idea to, like, you know what? He gets the same thing every time. He just pulled up. I'm gonna make what he always gets, and by the time he gets in here, it's gonna be ready. He'll probably like that, right? So he got in, and as soon as he got in, I put his thing down and said, "Hey, Ray," and he goes, "Yeah, you know the score, huh? You know the score." So from then on out, me and my coworker, we called this guy the score. I still call him that today. And every time he would come, we would say, "Oh, look, the score is here. Look at that." Well, I didn't know at the time because I was too young. I didn't know who the guy was, but forward to like 2016, I'm reading the newspaper, and whose face do I see? I see the score in the newspaper. And I'm like, holy shit, that's the fucking score. And he had gotten swept up in some serious shit, and he was a made man in a crime family. And then it just blew my mind after that. And then I started looking into like other arrests and other things and learning a little bit more about this guy. And he would be at the Memorial Day parade in Whitestone. That's a big tradition. Everyone brings their classic cars, and he would always be there. So that's kind of my story, like seeing one of those guys. And like I said, we even had a nickname for him. We called him the Score. And I didn't know at the time, but looking back, he played the role 100%. And last I heard, he got out on a compassionate release. He's not doing too well. I don't know how long he has for this role. You know, those I almost said the family he was in. You know, there's certain family where a lot of the guys in the family are very old. And by me saying that, you probably know what family that is, some of you guys. But yeah, that's one thing. And then there's another one that I absolutely cannot talk about. Whitestone has beautiful homes on the water that you can see them from the bridge. Yeah, you might be pinpointing an area where that person might be from. Yes. There's the neighborhood of Malba, which is kind of, I don't know, it's called Malba, but it's basically anybody who leaves from Whitestone, it's Whitestone. Very big houses, beautiful homes, millions of dollars. Been to New York one time working at a convention, met a guy from BL named Carmine. BL? Met a guy there from BL. What's BL? What is BL? I don't know what that is. Yeah, so Whitestone. Roro grew up in Whitestone, and like I said, it's kind of been a place that has always had some like guys, but it's not billed as that type of neighborhood. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. It's not a place where there's like social clubs all over, but it's a place where guys that have money will buy a nice house and just be away from a lot of things. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Actually, my friend Manny Grossman wants to do that. He want to walk around St. John's. I've done it on my own without filming, just looking around. Yeah, I definitely want to do that. Thank you, Big Pin. Luckily, Michael Francis already did a video on St. John's Cemetery, so he's not going to steal my footage when I do it. Ha! Malba. Yeah, Malba. Exactly. Yeah, Roy is there. There's a lot of guys there. John Gotti's there in the St. John's building. He's over there, not far away from Mario Cuomo. You know what these guys do, right? Yeah, a lot of guys there. Lucky Luciano's there too. He's got a mausoleum there. Yeah. There's a few. There's more than a few. I think even like Vario's there. Paul Vario might be there. There's a lot of guys there. It's the Mafia Cemetery. I don't know of any other cemetery that's more mobbed up. Oh, you know what I did, guys, recently? Oh, let me show you. I could probably show you on my phone. Have you guys ever been to Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn? If you guys live in New York City, or even if you don't, and you want to visit New York City ever, it sounds silly, like, oh, go to a cemetery. Greenwood Cemetery is beautiful. It's very historical. It's, I believe, 470 acres, something like that. It's huge. You're going to get lost in there, so make sure you don't lose service on your phone. I go there a couple times a year with my fiance. We park and we walk around the whole cemetery, and there's a lot of guys there. I'm going to show you on my phone who I ran into when I was there the other day. And they got like koi fish ponds. They have 2 like ponds in there. Bill the Butcher, William Poole from the old Gangs of New York stuff, Five Towns, all that. Portrayed in the movie Gangs of New York. He's actually buried there. There's a lot of people there, but I want to show you a picture that I took on my phone when I went there the other day. If I could find it, I will show it to you. Okay. So one of them I found was Michael Zaffarano, Mickey Zaffarano. I'm pretty sure that's the correct. So this is the front of the. This is the front. Can you guys see that? Whoa! Why is that happening? You see that name? Persico? Yeah. So I stumbled upon the little Persico mausoleum right by the lake there. And you see on the back, you see Carmine Persico. Yeah, so I stumbled. I wasn't looking for it, but upon the Carmine, the Persico family plot over there. So that was interesting to see. I wasn't looking for it. I just came upon it. And you see right there a little candle holder. You can put a candle in there. It says Persico. So that was one that I ran into there. As I said, William Poole is there. Oh, Albert Anastasia's there. I didn't look to find his grave. Albert Anastasia's there. Bunch of people. Greenwood Cemetery. But I don't really go there to like look for mobsters. I just go there to walk around because it's awesome. So about Chris Rosenberg? No, I seen a picture of it. I think it's in Long Island. I should go. Good night, Turbo. Did Louis ever get paid off by Sammy to make a Fiala hit? Cole go away. Did Sam? Yeah, I read that. I had read that, Big Monty. Yeah. I think that's true. I think that's true. I think the story goes something about Eppolito showing up somewhere numerous times and trying to like mosey his way in on the whole thing because he knew Sammy was connected to it. I don't know how true it is, but yeah. I'm pretty sure that is true, Big Monty. Did Sam know Lou before growing up as Lou was mobbed up? I don't know. I'm sure he must have known his uncles, right? James Eppolito, James Jr., James Sr., who were murdered by Roy DeMeo. Who else? It always goes back to Roy. Fucking crazy. Hey, oh, you did security agreement years ago. Great place to shoot firearms. No one can hear the sound. That's how big. Yeah, it's huge. I'm pretty sure it's like 470 something acres. Where is gas pipe buried? Hopefully in hell. But I don't really know. I'm not sure what cemetery he's in. I really don't know. He's with Mikey Muscles in hell. Good night, guys from Ireland. Seen on CNN, New York air pollution. Yes, it was bad. Thank you for joining me, G78, my man from Ireland, formerly Galactic Girl. I won't forget about that. By the way, Harvey Robles buried at the same ceremony as my dad. New Minifoot. New Minifoot. What does that mean? New Minifoot. What do you mean by that? It's a cemetery in Long Island, right, King Arthur? It's like I guess, I don't know, is it a Jewish cemetery? Oh, New Montefiore. There you go. Yeah, all right, New Montefiore. Is that a joke? Is that like an inside joke of yours? New Minifoot? Like people call Massapequa in Long Island Matza Pizza? Because it's all Jews and Italians. Was the sleazy strip on 42nd Street only between 7th and 8th Avenue? I can't say for sure. I don't know. I'm not sure. I wasn't alive then. I mean, I'd have to look it up. I mean, I know a little bit about it from covering some of it. I know the guy whose grave I just showed you, who I believe is his grave, Mickey Zaffarano, owned at least 3 buildings there during that time. Buildings that housed some of those theaters, which I've talked about in a past upload. Mickey Zaffarano, uncle of Vinny Asaro, the great Vinny Asaro. But I don't know. I'm not sure. You know where you can go? There's a website called showworldlegacy.com. Showworldlegacy.com, which basically people who used to work at the Show World, and they speak about other spots in Times Square that were around at that time, whether it be the Les Gals or Pussycat Theater or whatever it may be over there at that time. And pretty good history. I want to speak to those guys, but they kind of cut off contact. Sorry, I'm doing a shoulder dance. They cut off contact with me once because they didn't like what I was saying about certain things that I found out. So that's what happened. But I'll try to contact them again because one of them in particular I would really want to speak to. But yeah. They have a very high opinion of a certain guy who owned the Show World, a guy by the name of Richard Basciano. They have a very high opinion of this guy. I have a very low opinion of this guy. So that might be a bit of an issue of me speaking to these people. Richard Basciano was a business partner of Robert DiBernardo, Gambino guy, killed in, I believe, 86 by Sammy the Gravano and Joseph Peruta in the Sammy the Bull's drywall place over there on Stillwell Avenue. He was a business partner of Richard Basciano's, and Richard Basciano owned the Show World for many years in Manhattan. He was a very wealthy guy, a guy that nobody knows much about. A guy who, in my opinion, was an informant, who gave a lot of information about what exactly was going on with the mob. I consider him a Gambino Mafia associate. And he was just in business with some very bad people, and I don't think he was a good guy. But if you go to the Show World website, I mean, they love him. So, I mean, what do I know? They knew the guy personally. I just don't think, and you guys can look him up, Richard Basciano. You're not going to find much about him. I first came across him researching the Show World and Also, Roy DeMeo's FBI files, which shed light on Roy's interests in the show world, and a guy by the name of Gus Calavis, and all this other shit that I've spoken about so many times. But the point of this is go to showworldlegacy.com because they have a really nice website. I just think that I just don't think that their hero, or this guy they speak so highly of, was, I don't know. I just don't think he was a nice guy, but whatever. I didn't know him personally. They were made after, according to Al DiArco, they were made in, I believe, 1988 in a ceremony with Anthony Center, Joey Testa, and I believe Georgie Conti, and there might have and Georgie Conti and Al DiArco's son, Joe DiArco. That's according to Al DiArco. They were all made together, all four of them, in I believe 1988. So that would have been about 2 years after the Vladimir Reznikov murder. He wore it like Nino Gaggi 24/7. Who you speaking of? Richard Basciano? Slowpoke? Yeah, I don't even like talk because I get pissed because like I said earlier, these people, they lose contact with you. They don't want to talk about it. But once I showed them the FBI files and I was telling them all this crazy shit, they were like, oh we don't want to know about that. We don't want to know about that. Oh, our buddy Richie was a great guy, even though he had, business with some of the worst human beings to walk the fucking face of the earth. He was a great guy. Yeah. Tremendous guy. Robert DiBernardo, Roy DeMeo. Yeah. Gus Calavis. Smut peddlers. Underage porn peddlers. Not nice people. So, I mean, Roy DeMeo dismembered a body on like the 10th floor of the show world. Literally. Dismembered a body on top of the show world in the middle of fucking Times Square. You think Richard Basciano didn't know about that? Yeah, okay. As a matter of fact, when I was talking to one of those people at the show world, they even said to me that they remembered the cops going in there into the apartment above the show world to do a search because of what they heard happened in there. In an apartment that was rented out by Gus Calavis. Because Gus Calavis, another fucking rat who was doing work with Roy, was the one that told that story. That they chopped up Joseph Vigiano on top of the show world. They shot him in the head and dismembered him and carried him out in Times Square in a fucking case or whatever. And then weeks after that, they killed his father and his brother in Canarsie because they went looking for him. They took out a whole family in a matter of like months. Yeah. This is, so that's what's going on, guys. I'm sorry. Any more questions? How long have we been on? 2 hours already. All right. So what did we talk about tonight? Talked about Mikey Muscles. Brandon BK, thankfully, was in the chat because he was one of the guys that sent one of the emails that I received over the past couple of years. And I'm starting to believe that the Mikey Muscles in Murder Machine, his name is not Michael DiCarlo, but his name is Michael DeMarco. And that's taken from 2 different accounts. Then we spoke about the jewel thieves in Manhattan, the supposed mob associates. I mean, one of them definitely is. The other guys, I really can't say for sure. They were locked up. We went over some of their criminal careers of 2 of them, Mike Selleck and Fred Pietro. And that's about it, guys. I think I'm going to get ready to get out of here. If anyone has any more questions, you want to talk about something else, let me know. Let me just see something really quick here. I think there was something else. When is your next video out? I'm working on part 2 of that one I spoke about earlier, the DeVerne and LeGrand guy. I'm working on part 2. Hopefully within the next week or so, that'll be out. It's a lot of work doing that one. I put out a video recently where I read the testimony of Anthony Casso in regards to the gas scam with the Russians. I have the testimony of Michael Francis from that as well. I'm going to narrate that. I'll probably put that out just so people can, hear that. Thought that was pretty cool. So within the next week or so, I should have something out. And then there's a bunch of other stuff. Slowpoke Rodriguez, was that you that emailed me about, hold on, I gotta make sure. I don't even know if you're still here, Slowpoke. I'll look later. I'm sorry. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff I want to do. A lot of things. I want to not always do this mob stuff. As I said, I have plenty of non-mob stuff on my channel. I want to talk more about, I want to cover a lot of the cold cases in New York City history, cases that are still cold. I want to talk more about stuff like that. A lot of the forgotten cases, criminal cases in New York City. I want to interview more people. And it sucks though, because it's going to hurt my channel because people are obsessed with the mob stuff. So I don't know. I'll have to just suck it up and deal with it, I guess. Who put the hit out on Patty Testa? Well, it was Anthony Casso, as far as I know, as far as I'm concerned. Frank Lastarino was the one who did it, as far as I know. Do we know for sure? No, but I guess that's the widely accepted. I did a Patty Testa video, a whole video on Patty Testa, which is pretty good. It did pretty good. Got over 50,000 views. So to me, that's good. But I'll do a video about a non-mob thing right after that, and it'll get like 5,000 views. So it's just the inconsistency on YouTube, and I don't know. It's like right now I have 20,000 subs and there's 47 people here, so it's like that's the way it works. I don't know. Would love to see some cases outside. Yeah, it's pretty tough for me because I'm New York City crime spot, so I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know. It's hard for me to do that. Gunsmoke, yeah, what's up, man? How are you? Good to see you, buddy. Thank you so much for coming by. Appreciate that. Gunsmoke the Don. Guys, go to Gunsmoke the Don. Follow his channel. He's a funny guy. Definitely. Mob 2, Gunsmoke the Don. Check him out. Fatball Sicilian, all those guys. All those guys. We all kind of started at the same time. All started at the same time. I appreciate it, man. I'm like 2 hours and 7 minutes in, so I'm going to end soon. But I spoke about those geriatric jewel thieves over there in Manhattan. Did you hear about those guys, man? Yeah, those guys. I spoke about those guys. And I spoke about another guy by the name of Mikey Muscles, an old DeMeo crew victim that I had some information on. Thank you, man. Thank you, King Arthur. You're the man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Oh, you did? Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I covered those guys. I just read out the state's complaint, and then I spoke about some of their history that goes back. One of them goes back to the 70s, Gunsmoke, where he was robbing jewelry shops back in the 70s, getting arrested numerous times for robbing jewels. A guy by the name of Michael Selleck. And at one point, he even escaped custody. He escaped prison until they caught him like 4 months later. Then the other guy, DiPietro, he murdered somebody in 1990. I read that another guy, Spagnuolo, that was involved with them and murdered somebody apparently in 86. But the one guy has been doing jewel heists dating back to the 1970s, which is fucking nuts because he was in his 20s then. He's like in his 60s now. So it's unbelievable. Detail, you should put out a screenplay together with the Gemini list, so that would be huge. Well, my friend is writing the next Roy DeMeo book, so I would love to do that. But I don't know, maybe. I don't know. There's like a movie coming out called Gemini Lounge. And I just laugh. That's all I gotta say. I'm just laughing. Yeah, it was. It was crazy. Go with your heart, man. It'll be great. Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate that. Good night, everybody. I'll check out DeVernon. Yeah, check out my video, DeVernon LeGrand, the Bishop of Crown Heights, Part 1. Part 1. Yeah, so that Gemini Lounge movie, listen, I'm not knocking anybody that can make a movie and that could get money and funding, and I wish I could. I don't know how to do it. So I'm not knocking anybody that does that. But if you're making a movie, right? You're making a movie apparently about Roy DeMeo and the Gemini Lounge Crew. First of all, the whole premise of the movie is made up. It's not real at all. When I saw one of the trailers that they had out on Twitter at one point, and this is a movie with like Emil Hirsch, who was like a big actor at one point. So there's like some real actors in this movie. Like they put money into this. It's going to be released on some platform, whatever the fuck the platform is. But my problem is like you're making shit up. One of the most bizarre criminal stories in American history. And I mean that. I'm not saying that to fucking exaggerate. It's one of the most interesting and bizarre criminal stories in American history. All right. And I'll put that up against anything. I really don't care. So this Gemini Lounge movie that they're making up, it's like I like the Ice movie about Clancy. I've been interested in Gemini Lounge movie, I guess. LOL. Yeah. So the thing is, Gunsmoke, it's like they're making this movie, right? The premise of the movie is fake. It's about a cop who infiltrates the Gemini and like he gets so caught up with Roy DeMeo that he starts committing crimes with them. Okay. So my problem with that is one that never happened. Nobody ever infiltrated them. So it never happened. Roy had the cops on the take. The cops didn't infiltrate Roy. Okay. Number two, it's like in the trailer that they put out on Twitter, it's like it's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. It's like these cops in the police house, and they're like, oh, they got this thing that they call the Gemini method, where they're cutting up bodies. Oh, do they really? Oh, so you guys know that, but you're not arresting them. That never happened either. So the Gemini method, that was a term that was coined like fucking by Jerry Capisi or some shit. And they didn't know about Roy's disposal method until like 85, 86, when Broadway Freddy blew the cover on the whole fucking thing with the dismemberment of Fred Tadaro, when he was telling fucking Art Ruffles and all these people, oh yeah, well, we there was Fred Tadaro, we took him in there, we stabbed him in the heart, and we shot him in the head, we hung him in the tub, and then we started cutting him up and disposing him, and the FBI agents are like, what the fuck? What is this? Texas Chainsaw Massacre or some shit? So that's like the etymology of that. And you're pretending like, oh, I heard this guy's got a Gemini method. It's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard of in my life. Stop making fake shit. They need to just tell the real story. It's still entertaining. They don't need to create fake stories. You already have such an interesting story. Why create a fake story? I don't understand that. Whatever. I just went on a tangent because I don't know. Because I care about that story too much, and I've researched it way too much. And I know people that were there, that I know I'm friends with somebody who was actually fucking there. And I told him about it, and he was like, fuck that bullshit. He's like, I don't know what the fuck that is. Stupid shit. What's your favorite? What's your favorite mob movie? What's your favorite mob movie? My favorite mob movie. This sounds cliche. It's probably just Goodfellas, to be honest with you. I think it's probably just Goodfellas. Bronx Tale. I like every mob movie. That's the thing about me. Even if you go on YouTube, there's like some really low budget mob movies that you can watch for free that are like the worst movies ever made. But I'll still watch them because they're fun. So I like every mob movie. I don't even care if it's bad. It's just funny. If it's bad to the point of being funny, I like it. Now, if it's trying to be good and telling a fake story, a la the Gemini Lounge movie that's coming out, I don't like it. But if it's like cliche, and if it's like, exploiting all the Italian stereotypes and being really cheesy, like I like shit like that. It's really funny. Goodfellas is best. Yep. I was speaking of The Score. Oh, The Score. Oh, The Score. Did you say something before? Steve Valley, did I miss this? Thank you so much, buddy. I don't know if I saw that before. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you, buddy. You are the man. Thank you. What in relation to that, Slowpoke? What were you saying in relation to that? What about it? And even Goodfellas, right? Even Goodfellas, like a lot of the things are not historically accurate, but the gist of it is pretty good. And it's still a great movie. It's still a great movie. And the thing about that is, like, when a movie like that comes out at that time, I mean, you kind of would have, I think, probably would have had to be really into mob history over 30 years ago and read all the books and known all about it and this and that. And you could almost get away with something like that with, like, back then. And of course, there's legal aspects to these things where you can't mention names and you have to change, especially if somebody writes a book about something. You can't exactly use, like, their words and their, the language that they've created. But now, when there's so much information and so many people are into this stuff and there's so many documentaries, it's like, why do you have to make a movie that just makes shit up? What is the fucking point? I don't understand it. I just don't get it. It's lame. I love it. I mean, it's great. That era of HBO, I mean, all that stuff is great back then. Yeah, Oz, Sopranos, The Wire, all that stuff. I mean, it's like the best. And we spoke earlier about the HBO documentaries that were around at that time. Goodfellas is the greatest film made. I mean, it's your opinion, yeah. It's one of my favorite movies. It's not a mob movie, but I like, as far as De Niro, I like Taxi Driver. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't know what that says about me, but Donald Clear used to say his Uncle Nino played a gangster 24/7, even in his bathrobe. I believe it. So I like Bronx Tale a lot because it's all true by Chaz Lewis. Yeah, see, like Bronx Tale too. It's like it's like Chaz's thing, and even if it's not real, it's still a good movie. It's not pretending to be like, you know what I'm saying? It's not taking, it's maybe Chaz's real story, but it's not taking a story that's so well known and, like, just like making shit up. Yeah, yeah. I've been told I look like Berkowitz many times throughout my life. By numerous people. You guys watch the Dominic Montiglio channel, Dominic Montiglio The Life? You guys check that out with the Roy DeMeo barbecue footages and all that? It's pretty cool, right? Pretty cool to see serial killers having fun, right? Imagine there was, like, barbecue footage of, like, Bundy and, like, Dahmer hanging out and shit. Not that those guys are, well, maybe they are. I don't know. But only 47 now. That's not bad. We had, like, I don't know, 70 something, which is not bad because I don't really do live streams, so I'll take it. Whatever. What else? All right, guys. Going to be winding down. I guess I'm going to head out of here now. This was good, though. I had fun. 2 hours and 18 minutes. I think we covered everything that we were supposed to be covering, and then all the time it goes off into another tangent, Bronx Tale is the softer side of life. Great film. Yeah, but you wrote tell, Roro. I'm not like a grammar Nazi, but you wrote tell. What does that mean? What is it, like an animal tail? Al DeMeo says he drove Jack to an airport and that was the last he saw him. Well, some people think he was killed in out of state. I don't know. I always think, like, when they raided that place, right? And you see the photo of Dracula sitting at the table. It's really hard for me to believe that he was able to escape. And it's also really hard for me to believe that he would be whacked like after like the feds just raided that place. You would think that would be like fucking like surveillance on these guys like at all times, right? I mean, I don't know. People were just doing crazy stuff then, man. I really don't know. You guys want to see that picture again of Dracula? What's the song playing at Raw's Barbecue? Oh, that's a Luther Vandross song. It is a Luther Vandross song. Let me see if I can find it. I forget the name of it. Luther Vandross. Let's see what comes up when I type that. You know what? I don't remember the name of the song, but it's a Luther Vandross song. Thank you so much, Big Pin. I really appreciate that. Big Pin Fitness. Good night, buddy. Appreciate it. Big Pin from Astoria, I believe you said. Good to see you, bro. Thank you so much. I think it's Luther Vandross, Roro. I'll email you or something when I get that. When I get that down. All right. Did I miss anything? Let me show you guys that photo one more time, and then I'll get out of here. There he is. There he is. So, Joseph Dracula Guglielmo. Photo taken in 1970. This is one you don't see. This is a rare one. Arrested for a bank robbery. In 6 years' time, he'd be assisting in numerous murders from the back apartment of the Gemini Lounge with his cousin Roy. And he's in his 40s here. You know those photos that you see of him where he looks like an old man? He's only in his 50s. I mean, he just aged very terribly. But yeah, that's Joseph Guglielmo, Joe Dracula. A sick human being. You know what Pete LaFrosia told me about Joe Dracula once? He said that there was like a German Shepherd up the block at the Gemini that was like attacked him once or like barked or like came at him once, and then like Dracula grabbed a knife from the Gemini and like went up the block and like killed the fucking dog or something crazy like that. Thank you so much, Aunt Shari. Awesome live lower videos, how they flow. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Can't do it without the commenters who help me and take the conversation to other places outside of what my itinerary. Is that the right word? Itinerary? I don't think that's the right word. Thank you. Was Nino made Nino Gaggi? No, he was made way before that. Nino was probably made. He was probably made in like the 1960s or something like that. Maybe even before that. But if I had to guess, Nino was made in the 60s. Yeah. Yeah, he was already probably made by the time he met DeMeo. Nino's old school, man. Old school, OG. Yes, subscribe, notifications, hit the like. Thanks, everybody. Big Pin. OG Ruby Almighty, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. This guy, anal penetrator. What is that, dude? Is that like Yasser Arafat or something being kissed by who the hell knows? You're a sicko, man. Thanks for being here. Anal penetrator. Ruby, once again, you're the best. Thank you so much. He did not age well. Karma, maybe. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I had a lot of fun. This was good. 2 hours and 23 minutes. Yeah. Thanks as always for everybody that shows up, whether it's 40 people, 80 people, 100 people, whatever it is. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'm working on part 2 of DeVernon LeGrand, the Bishop of Crown Heights. I'm going to be working on some location videos. Be going out to Staten Island to film some stuff pretty soon. I got some stuff out there I want to film, and bringing out some more locations. And like I said, I'm going to be covering some of these old New York City cold cases. Bunch of other things, man. It's going to be good. Dogs are excellent judges of people. Dog is God spelled backwards. Coincidence? I think coincidence. I don't think so. Okay, I thought you wrote. I think so. Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you, Roro. Maybe we'll end on Roro's great comment. Dogs are excellent judges of people. Dog is God spelled backwards. Coincidence? I don't think so. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. To everybody that was here, everybody that donated, you are the best. And I really appreciate it. Ruby, you have a great night. I'll probably see you in Manny's chat. Thank you so much. And everybody have a great weekend. I hope you get out there and have some fun. All right. Love you guys. Have a good night.